Carlos Canto. He's from Spain. He's the CEO of SPSG Consulting and Investments. Thank you again, and please feel free to make a short introduction about your professional career in the sports industry.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, and thanks indeed for the introduction and for the opportunity. I hope that everybody is fine. I started my professional relationship within the sports industry at IMG, the biggest and largest agency, as you know, in the world, when I spent more than 10 years as vice president of the consulting division, working a lot in a lot of projects, very, very interesting, and also traveling a lot. I've been many, many times to your country, beautiful country, Brazil. And then I moved, after 10 plus years at IMG, I moved to Lagardère Sports, also as vice president of the consulting division, also based out of Barcelona, but traveling also a lot. And since September 2016, I have my own consulting firm, boutique consulting firm, specialized in sports as well as in sponsorship, called SPSG Consulting. We are a niche, a boutique consulting firm specialized in these fields. So we do consulting on sports, we do consulting on sponsorship, and consulting in sports as well as in sponsorship. In addition to this, I'm a professor, a sport business professor at ESADE Business School, top 20 in the world, as well as at Instituto de Empresa also, and then at the Escuela Universitaria Real Madrid and La Liga Business School. And in addition to this, I'm a member of the board of the Spanish Marketing Association and the guy in charge of the sports chapter within the Spanish Marketing Association. And in addition, I'm honored to be a member of the advisory board of the World Football Summit. And I know that yesterday you had as a guest Paco Rocha. So that's basically me.
Amazing. So what do you foresee for Spain right now and for the entire Europe? What do you foresee in terms of, let's talk about specifically to soccer industry, what are the critical situations that they are passing through? Especially the lower divisions teams, maybe some of them may go bankrupt due to the financial crisis. What do you see? What can you tell us about that?
I mean, how heavy will be the impact? It will depend on how long it will take to go again and leave this vital behind us. Okay, so it is a matter that 1, 2, 3 months, obviously it will affect, but not as severely as it will affect if this situation will last for 6 or even 1 year. Having said this, one of the most important things is to resume as soon as possible the competition, at least the main leagues and competition. Obviously, having said this, health is the first thing.
Sure.
But if health is, let's say, guaranteed for athletes, for referees, for the staff, for media, etc., then it is much, much better to resume as soon as possible the competition, the leagues without crowd, without public, because then at some point it will diminish the effects of the losses. It will diminish the losses. So the money will start to flow again. And this is extremely important for the whole sports, and in this case, football ecosystem.
Sure.
Having said this, obviously, it depends on every single club, what's their situation, not only financial, but also economic, from a business perspective, etc. situation, the impact, it will be more or less severe. Okay? So, if we analyze the 6 main revenue streams for a club, for any type of club, soccer club in this case, we have venues, first of all. Okay, so we have ticketing, we have memberships, we have renting, part of the facilities, etc. This is the main, area that has been or is affected by this situation because there is no activity in these venues, in this stadium. So that's a painful area. Second area is about media. In the majority, not in all, but in a nice number of countries, at least in Europe and also in the States, media rights are centralized. So the majority of media rights, not all of them, okay? More digital media rights maybe are not centralized. But the main revenue streams comes from the broadcasters, traditional broadcaster or even OTTs, etc. All these mega broadcasters. So in these cases, in these countries, media rights are centralized, which means that the money goes to the league, not to the clubs directly. And then the league is the one who distributes to the clubs according to several criteria. Okay, so in these cases, clubs can do little because the main revenue streams are not up to them, but up to the league. Having said this, obviously, clubs should generate additional content, complementary content, maybe in a freemium basis, not everything for free. Again, if this situation lasts for many months, then a freemium approach should be definitely considered by the clubs. The third revenue streams is commercial, let's say sponsorship, merchandising, academies, campus, licensing, etc. Here, the thing is to be creative in terms of merchandising, licensing, etc. And then in terms of sponsorship, as a sponsorship is basically one single coin with two tails, the sponsor and the property. So if this situation comes when a sponsorship relationship is still in process, let's say 3 years relationship, 3 years deal, and now is the first year or the second year of this relationship, they are, let's say, obliged to sit down, talk, and find a common space to analyze the situation and find a solution, being flexible by each other. If this situation lands at the last, let's say, month of the existing deals, then the renewal of this contract, that's another day story, because eventually the brand should be obliged to renegotiate in a lower price. Okay. Obviously, also another factor to take into consideration is the type of brand. Assume that we are an airline sector brand, or a hotel chain brand, or a restaurant chain brand, sectors where the crisis is impacting very heavily. Yes. Then that's another story compared to other economic sectors. So that's the third one. The fourth one is basically transfers. Some clubs, some of them in Latin America, but also in Europe, are, let's say, specialized or focused from a business perspective in terms of, growing, identifying new talent, cheap talent, and selling them to Europe or to China or to other countries, or even within the Latin America area for a higher price. Okay. I would say that we'll see some changes in this economic relationship. Maybe applying more some kind of NBA, NFL type of thing, exchanging players. Obviously, the commissions of the Asians, I would say, they will decrease their commission, which is a good news for the clubs. Okay, but still, this is an area to analyze very, very closely. The fifth revenue streams comes from prices. No competitions, or competition are frozen, no prices, obviously, unless the competition is ended, and then they award the prices to that point of time when the competition was still live. They won that competition. Okay, but prices are a little back in Europe, maybe with the UEFA Champions League. There's not a lot of money to be distributed. And then the sixth revenue stream is other. And other, you need to diversify and you need to invest. we are not talking about just a football club. We should talk about a company on the football industry, being the main, let's say, core business, the team that is playing on the field. But if you conceptualize a club, not as a club, not as a football club, but as a company at the football industry, then you can identify other business opportunities around yourself.
Sure. Perfect. So, said that we know the over-the-top streaming for sports is becoming increasingly attractive. From now on, fans will have to decide between staying comfortable and safe at home or attending sports match in stadiums or arena with all risks it offers. So, do you think the new stadiums and arenas won't need to be as big as in terms of capacity when people decide to invest in building new stadiums, given the social distances consequences? What do you foresee?
I would say that I would like to send also a positive message, okay? In Asia, especially in China, at some point, not 100%, but at some point, life is back, okay? So people are working, people are attending, are using public transport, are going to the office. There is no theater, no cinema, still no concerts, obviously, but gradually they are going back to the kind of normality. The second thing is that as we speak, 80% of population loves football. A year ago, 80% of population loved in the past football. In this case, in 1 or 2 or 3 months' time, 80% of people will still love football and will be eager to go to the stadium. Having said this, obviously, health issues are important. But at the same time, we don't need to forget that, generally speaking, the vast majority of a club fan base never goes to a stadium. The country with more fans of Real Madrid, for example, is definitively not Spain, but Indonesia, China, etc. Okay? And these people are not frequently flying to Madrid to go to attend a Real Madrid game at the Estadio Santiago Bernabeu. So this situation will not change. Having said this, obviously, a stadium should be profitable, or at least reduce the costs associated and be profitable. Okay? So the main thing is not to build or reduce the capacity of a stadium, is to increase the usage of those stadiums. Okay? So we are talking about not football stadia. We should talk about multi-purpose stadia.
Yes.
Or venues. And yes. That's the thing. And that's the change of some football clubs, that they have their own stadium, okay, but they are not using it in a proper way, maximizing the revenues that eventually they can generate.
Perfect. All right, amazing. I do appreciate all your time, all the information and knowledge you have shared with us. Today you have talked to Carlos Canto. He's from Spain. He's the CEO of the SPSG Consulting and Investments. Thank you again, Carlos.
It's been a pleasure. Obrigado.
Obrigado. Be safe.
Ciao.
Bye.